The fall wind blew across the wide Wyoming plains, carrying the smell of sage and dust. This was the frontier, a hard land that broke more people than it helped. In 1887, the small town of Silver Ridge sat on the empty prairie like a collection of old bones. The wooden buildings huddled together against the endless wind. Main Street was just dirt between three important places: the Golden Horseshoe Saloon, Patterson's General Store, and the auction house where desperate people were bought and sold. Luke Carson stood on the saloon porch like he owned the whole town. At 35, he did own the Circle K Ranch, 10,000 acres of good land that went on forever. The years had made him tough as stone. Square jaw, gray eyes that saw everything, and a pride that was both his strength and weakness. Men tipped their hats when he walked by. Women stayed away, knowing there was something cold under his rough charm. "Another auction today," said Sam Wheeler, sitting down next to his boss. The ranch foreman had been Luke's friend for 20 years. His face showed the same hard lines as Luke's, though drinking had made him softer around the edges. Luke just grunted, sipping his whiskey. He hated these fall auctions. Broken women sold to whoever paid the most, their lives worth nothing more than cattle. But he always watched, unable to look away from the terrible show. "Heard there's a new widow," Sam went on, spitting tobacco into the street. "Came in yesterday's stage, dressed all in black. People are calling her the mystery widow." Inside the saloon, rough men laughed as they bet on which woman would cost the most. The auction wouldn't start for an hour, but excitement filled the air like lightning before a storm. Luke had never bought a woman. His ranch ran fine, he had company when he wanted it, and problems, especially wife problems, were trouble he didn't need. Still, when Judge Hayes picked up his hammer, Luke looked toward the platform. The usual women went first. Sarah Mills, whose husband died in a mine cave-in. Betty Donovan, left alone with 3 kids. Young Annie Peterson, not even 20 and already worn down by frontier life. Then the crowd went quiet. She moved like smoke, wrapped in black from head to toe. A thick veil hid her face, gloves covered her hands. While the other women hung their heads in shame, she stood straight. A shadow cut from midnight, proud but fragile as thin ice. Even Judge Hayes stopped talking for a moment. "Gentlemen, this widow wants privacy. She can read and write and run a house. Her name stays secret until someone buys her." People started talking among themselves. "What's she hiding?" someone yelled. "Probably sick," another man said. "Ugly as sin, I bet." Luke pushed through the crowd without meaning to. He got to the front, and for one moment he felt her looking at him through the veil. He couldn't see her eyes, but something about the way she stood, proud but hurt, grabbed hold of his heart. Hayes cleared his throat. "Do I hear $20? Silence. 10. Sweat ran down the judge's face. Nobody wanted to spend money on a woman who might be damaged goods. The widow's hands shook, the first crack in her stone-cold act. "Hey, Carson." Rex Dalton's voice cut through the quiet like a knife. Luke's enemy walked up with his usual friends, smiling like a wolf. "I'll bet you $100 you can't get that crow to show her face," Rex said with a nasty grin. "200 if you can get her in bed by sunrise." The crowd got loud and wild. The widow stepped back, scared. "You're drunk, Dalton," Luke snapped. "Maybe, but my money's real. Unless the great Luke Carson has gone soft." Anger lit up in Luke's chest like fire. He should walk away. Every smart thought told him to. But everyone was watching, and Luke Carson never backed down from a fight. "Make it 300, Luke said calmly. "You got a bet." The crowd roared. Before he could think twice, Luke turned to Hayes. $75 for the woman in black. Sold. The hammer came down fast. Luke stepped up to the platform. "Ma'am," he said quietly, holding out his hand. She waited, then put her gloved fingers in his. They shook like scared birds. "Rose," she whispered through the veil. "Rose Mitchell." The wagon wheels creaked on the rough road as the Wyoming sun turned red in the western sky. Rose sat next to him without talking, a mystery wrapped in sadness and black cloth. Luke couldn't stop thinking. Had he just made the best choice of his life, or the worst? When the ranch house came into sight, warm light glowing in the windows, Luke felt proud and worried at the same time. The Circle K was his proof of hard work. 2 stories of solid wood, with a porch that wrapped around like welcoming arms. "This is your home now," he said, helping her down from the wagon. Rose's voice was barely heard above the wind. "A house isn't always a home, Mr. Carson." Her words hit him hard. Inside, the front room smelled of wood smoke and leather. The old clock ticked like a heartbeat. Rose moved through the space like a ghost, not touching anything, her veil still hiding whatever was underneath. "Are you hungry?" Luke asked, feeling awkward in his own house. She shook her head. "I'm tired. Can I rest?" He showed her to the blue room upstairs, where his mother's lace curtains still hung in the windows like old memories. Rose stopped in the doorway, almost crying. "Thank you," she whispered. That night, Luke lay awake staring at the ceiling while Rex Dalton's mocking voice played in his head. 300 if you can get her in bed by sunrise. Shame twisted in his stomach. This wasn't about money, it was about pride, about not letting Watson make him look like a fool. But under the shame, he was curious. Who was Rose Mitchell? What made a woman hide behind veils? And what sadness was under that dark cloth? Dawn found Luke on his horse, working cattle under a golden sky. Hard work helped calm his mind. But when he came back, Rose was already awake, standing still in the garden like a sad statue. "Morning," he called. She nodded but didn't speak. "You know," he said, getting off his horse, "people are curious about you. A mystery woman at an auction gets folks talking." "I don't want to talk about the past." Her voice was cold. "Out here, the past follows you." For the first time, she turned to face him fully. Even through the veil, Luke felt her stare. Sharp, fighting, hurt. "Then maybe you shouldn't ask." Her tone should have made him angry. Luke Carson wasn't used to being told what to do. But something about her made him nod and accept it. That evening, Sam brought news from town. "Rex Dalton's talking all over creation," the foreman warned, sitting at the kitchen table. "Says you bought the widow on a dare. Half the county's betting now, waiting to see if you win or lose." Rose walked in just then with tea she'd made. She froze when she heard Sam's words, the cups shaking in her hands. "A bet?" she asked quietly. Sam looked at Luke nervously. "Maybe I said too much," but Rose stared at Luke through her veil. "Is it true?" The quiet stretched like a rope ready to snap. Luke wanted to lie, to wash away the shame burning in his chest. But the truth hung between them. "Yes," he said. The tea tray rattled as Rose set it down with shaking hands. "So I'm nothing but a bet to you. A game between men." "It's not." "Then tell me what it is, Mr. Carson." Her voice cracked even though she tried to stay strong. "I came into this house thinking it might give me respect. But if I'm here only because of a drunk bet, then I'm no better than cattle being sold." Luke reached for her, but she pulled back, running upstairs with her black dress whispering on the wood. He stood frozen in the empty kitchen, shame and anger twisting in his gut. "You're in deep trouble now," Sam said. Luke knew his friend was right. As he sat alone in the quiet house, one question burned in his mind. Why did Rose Mitchell hide her face? And what secret was under that dark veil so bad she was afraid to show it? The big clock struck 2 when a soft knock came at Luke's door. He hadn't slept. His mind kept spinning around Rex Dalton's bet, the veiled woman in the blue room, and the heavy weight of his own pride. "Come in," he said. Rose walked in, still dressed in black but somehow smaller and more fragile than before. "I won't waste your time, Mr. Carson," she said, her voice steady even though her hands shook. "This bet of yours, I'll end it tonight." Luke stood up quick. "You don't have to." But she was already taking off the outer veil. It fell to the floor, showing thinner cloth underneath. Her gloved hands pulled out pin after pin, each one dropping like a nail into a coffin. "My husband and child died in a fire," she said, never looking away from his face. "I lived, if you can call this living." The last veil came off. The wig came away. Luke couldn't breathe. Where soft hair should have been, burned skin showed angry red patches. Where smooth skin should have curved, fire had left its cruel mark forever. But under all the damage were eyes, gray as storm clouds, fierce and full of pain. "This is the truth," Rose said, lifting her chin even though her hands shook like leaves. "This is what your town would call ugly. This is what Rex Dalton paid to see. So take your winnings, Mr. Carson, and let's be done with this lie." The quiet that followed felt deeper than death. Luke stepped forward slowly until he stood close enough to see the freckles still left on her good cheek. "No," he said, his voice rough with feeling. "Dalton bet on shame, but there's no shame here." Her eyes searched his face, waiting for the cruel laugh, the pulling away, the disgust she'd learned to expect. It didn't come. Instead, Luke reached out carefully and touched her scarred cheek as gently as a man holding something precious. "You asked if you were cursed," he said quietly. "I'll tell you straight, you're a miracle, Rose Mitchell. You walked through hell's fire and came out standing. That's not cursed. That's blessed." Her lips trembled. "Why?" "Because I see you," Luke said simply. "Not what you lost. Not what they took from you. You." For the first time in 14 months, Rose's iron control broke. A single tear rolled down her scarred face, falling onto Luke's rough hand like forgiveness. Outside, the Wyoming wind rattled the windows with false promise. But inside the Circle K ranch, two hurt souls found out that sometimes the deepest scars don't mark where we've been broken, but where we've chosen to heal.